Hey guys, it's Who's of Doom. This is a response topic to Vince Venturella's topic of the week, I guess from last week. I'm a little bit slow. But it's basically getting new armies for Christmas. What do you guys think? Do you want models for Christmas? I think everyone does. I know I certainly do. I like getting Christmas models, but I'm trying to push back a little bit on the purchases. But let me talk about a little bit about my history with Christmas and models. Or I guess just Christmas and Warhammer would probably be a better way to kind of describe it. So I think the earliest Christmas thing, Warhammer related, that I can recall is my parents in 2000 sponsoring my trip to the Grand Tournament in Baltimore. I would not have been able to go had they not been willing to pay for a plane fare down to Baltimore, which was really fun. It's in a different country from where I was at the time, and going to Grand Tournament is probably one of the best experiences in kind of my hobby journey thus far. A long time ago now, that's for darn sure. 2001 tournament, but that was a huge deal. And I remember like my mom helping me to get like the models prepared and stuff. Getting it was kind of fun. But other than that, they've never actually given me any models. Everything, as much, I have a fairly substantial collection. It's largely all bought by myself for the most part. In more recent years, Mrs. Hooves has definitely contributed, during birthdays and Christmases and stuff. But, a lot of them are just my own personal spending money. And I just, I mostly devote, 90% of that towards Warhammer. That's like my focus for excess cash. But I would say that journey to Baltimore was kind of an interesting trip, and really appreciate my parents chipping in to support. But in general, most of my parents and in-laws and stuff, they really get confused between Warhammer and Warcraft. I don't know if anyone else has that experience, but like I played Warcraft for 5 or 6 years fairly regularly, but I've been in like Warhammer for like 2 decades, and yet they don't they always call it Warcraft. I don't know. That's just the way it goes. You gotta deal with the old family, I just don't think people quite understand the hobby if they're not in it. And I think that contributes to not understanding prices. Like, for me, I'm willing to overlook costs because I want the product enough that the costs are not a major factor in determining whether or not I'm going to buy it. But I know for people outside of the hobby, I've asked like my brothers or something, hey, you can just buy me something for Warhammer. Pretty much anything you want, I'll be happy to get it. And I think they just look at the website and go, there's no way I'm spending this much on like a box of toys. And there is so many products out there that I think it's difficult for people outside of the hobby to really understand what's going on. Like you can give them like a GW wish list, but I like a surprise. I like to not know. And I guess like the problem with that is like I can buy the exact same products throughout the year. So if I get the same type of products for Christmas, it doesn't feel too special. So I'm actually, I don't know, I'm thinking of like moving away from like really getting a lot of stuff for Christmas. And focusing on more things that I would not normally have bought. I like a lot of books. I like a lot of other things. I just don't usually put my own money towards those. So maybe for future Christmases, I should hint at more focusing on those. I usually get some cash for Christmas or something because I think people just don't know what to get. So they're like, okay, here's some money. You can buy your own models. which is fine. But again, I can do that myself. So Mrs. Hooves is really one of the only people to have actually given me models. And she was actually the first one to give me models directly for like a Christmas. And it's about 10 years now. But I remember the Christmas before, I proposed to her and engaged. And she gave me a Dragon Ogre, like the larger version of that. I gave her a Black Coach. It was a magical Christmas for exchanging Warhammer models. And I love having a spouse in the hobby because at least she kind of gets it. But, at the time I was like, I don't know. Should I propose to her? I don't know. But man, that Christmas, that was what like sealed the deal, right? That's no. I mean, obviously there's plenty of other reasons why, but I did propose to her a couple days later. But that definitely was a contributing factor. That's definitely for me a huge deal. No, I mean, in all seriousness, I do like getting some models, and I think that was really cool to actually receive models for the first time in Christmas. But Mrs. Hooves does face some difficulties with me, I think, because even she doesn't know quite what to get me, because I'm one of those guys that collects several different armies. And so I can only really point to like AdMech, where I have 0 models for. I don't have every single chapter of Space Marines or every single component of Chaos Space Marines or something like that, but I do have plenty of Space Marines and plenty of Chaos Space Marines. So unless you're really nitty gritty into the exact details of every single army and every single kit that GW produces, it's really difficult to know what to kind of get me, because there's always that risk of getting something I already own or something like that. So there's no blanket army apart from AdMech that I can say buy anything from this faction and guaranteed I don't have it. So I think that's kind of difficult for her. So this year I was honestly thinking, maybe I shouldn't ask for models and focus more on kind of books. And that's kind of what I'm going to be trying to do is make purchases for like my current projects. But apart from that, if I feel need to kind of collect campaign books or battle tomes or codexes, things I actually don't have a lot of those. I have a lot of codexes and battle tomes, but they're a little bit outdated on the 40k side, definitely. But I kind of broke down and said, okay, if you do want to buy me some models, you can focus on the current projects. Because what happened last year is I gave her, just to have some sort of element of surprise, I gave Mrs. Hooves several choices from several different armies, which I thought, okay, this would be a good way to, zero in where like some of the armies are weaker than others. The problem with that, of course, is that I don't want to paint an isolated kit outside of the entire army. Right? I'm not just going to paint 1 or 2 models that I got for Christmas and leave the remaining army completely unpainted. Doesn't make a lot of sense. So I got like several different box sets from several different armies, which was great. It was a fun Christmas, but most of them are still unused. A number of them are unassembled even now, so it's kind of sad. And so to kind of get away from that, I gave her more of a list that focuses on the current projects. Right, so I gave her some choices for Free Guild, Syncadian Shock Troops, Khorne Demons, and then after I did the Dies Cast video, I added Nurgle Rotbringers into that mix. So those are the 4 armies that I'll be working on in 2017. I hope to actually work on a couple more, but we'll see. But I think she's been a little bit skeptical. I think she's only got me a couple things. And that's perfectly fine. Like, I don't need models. Models are not something that I'm short on. So it's been kind of a journey from, like, maybe getting, like, nothing for so long. and me just, focusing all my spending money for, almost 2 decades on just buying models. I mean, that's where I put all my spending money into. This hobby is something that I absolutely love, and it's really funny too, because like, anything else that might be nice, I'm like, how are the price? Like, $30. I don't know if that's worth it. And then I look at like Games Workshop, and it's like, $60 for that old tank. Okay. like no problem there. It's a completely different schema of how things get evaluated. But I think, honestly, I think I'm going to try to focus more on either things that do directly impact the project, things that I can guarantee. Because I know Mrs. Hooves is a little bit kind of like, you didn't paint anything that I bought you last year. You didn't even assemble them. Why the hell am I going to buy you more this year? And I totally get that. So focusing on more the projects, but also just maybe on non-Warhammer related things as well. Cool things. I don't want socks, right? Anyways, I'm really interested in what you guys think about getting models for Christmas. I know everyone, it's probably, I like, it's a good way to get kind of a lump sum, right? Like, birthdays and Christmas are a good way to kind of, maybe get a couple $100 worth of product that you might not normally be able to do. And I totally get that. And, I use the same excuse to kind of, get some larger purchases sometimes as well. But I also just graduated from grad school, and I kind of have a deal with Mrs. Hooves, when I get a job, maybe one or two of my future projects will be completely funded. But we'll see. I'd rather have that, because that's a good motivator as well. But anyways, we'll see what happens at Christmas. I actually did get a couple things that are not model related, but hobby related, which I'll talk about in my hobby journey video, and very much appreciated. Anyways, have a good one.